VGRT Gaming Podcast, episode 707, recorded on December 21st, 2023.
Welcome to the 707th edition of the TD Gaming Podcast and 540th episode of Video Game Roundtable. I am TJ Denzer.
I am Scott Dirk.
I am Jonah Falcon.
The VGRT Gaming Podcast focuses on game news from around the industry.
Welcome to the last episode of 2023. The next time you hear from us is 2024. We're not going to talk about much because there's really not that much news. So anyways, I guess we can talk about Bobby Kotick finally leaving Activision. I think he's leaving on December 23rd or something like. It's not at the New Year. It's somewhere
December
just before New Year's.
December 29th.
Right. So he'll be going. He'll be getting his little golden parachute, and then no one will speak of him ever again.
Yeah, did you see the letter he wrote? I don't believe a single word of what he wrote.
Who? Bobby Kotick or
Bobby
Phil
Kotick.
Spencer?
He gave a parting letter or whatever, talking about his childhood games being Atari and Mystery House and whatever, and I don't think I believe any of it.
Oh, well. Phil Spencer had to praise him as he left as well. It was required, you know. I'm pretty sure that if he was more honest, he would have said other things.
I truly, truly wish that if I ever hear of Bobby Kotick again, it's because he's being sued for how much money he's cost everybody and being such a shit boss.
Yeah.
Because that's the only thing I can think of that would actually, happen as far as, once he's out, once he's done, just, getting sued for just how many millions he's cost companies, Microsoft and Activision Blizzard, in lawsuits.
You know, he bought Activision 30 years ago, back in 1991, and Activision was struggling big time. So he was able, say what you want about him, he was able to turn a company that was going out into a company that was sold for almost $70 billion.
Yeah, but a large portion of that sale happening is because Activision Blizzard was in such a weak state when Microsoft decided to pull the trigger on a deal.
Yeah. One of these stories that was about Bobby Kotick is that his first business deal was selling his mom's ashtray to a friend for $3 in '62. That's kind of with a grain of salt because he would have been a toddler at the time, but still, that's not something to brag about. Oh yeah, my first deal. I stole my mother's ashtray and sold it for $3.
That sounds like a Bobby Kotick story.
Yeah. So he's gone, and it'll be interesting to see what becomes of the company. I mean, the thing that Bobby Kotick is more famous for, and I'm trying to remember the quote. He said he wanted to create an atmosphere of fear, something like that. Fear, judgment. Damn it, I forgot it. But he just made the entire place extremely toxic to work at.
Yeah. The story that will always stand out to me about all the stuff that was happening and Bobby Kotick being I really tried to do something about it. I really tried to be a positive force and make this company into a better place for everybody. The one story that will always stand out to me is the allegations that when one of his leads was doing a little bit of sexual harassment and toxic workplace, and they were going to be fired, but he stepped in and made that firing not happening. And not only that, but later on threatened to kill somebody for being a whistleblower. It's this guy's a fucking menace to the gaming industry. I don't care how much money he's made Activision Blizzard. His business philosophy, as far as just producing games and creating a game development ecosystem sounds nightmarish. And I hope that
here's
he
the thing.
never
In
is allowed
2010,
in this
he
industry
told,
again.
in 2010 he told investors he wanted to take the fun out of making video games.
Well done. You took it out of one of the most prolific fucking publishers of all time, because it's a crime what Activision Blizzard is now compared to what it was.
Yeah. You know, Tim Schafer went and called him a dick. I'm sorry, no, he called him a total prick. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And now
He and Mark Zuckerberg have the same kind of eyes where, like, you look at them and there's nothing in there. There's no soul. There's no compassion. There's no empathy. Just bottom line.
By the way, the background for that was that the way they mismanaged Beauty Legend at the time. I still can't play Beauty Legend because it's actually an RTS, not a. If Tim just made it, an action adventure, that would have been great.
I want to know about why that RTS element was put in there, because it's easily the most unfitting part of that game. And
here's the thing. It was all Tim Schafer, but I think he got the message out wrong. I mean, he should have marketed it more as an RTS than as an action adventure.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the writing was on the wall, because you spend most of the main story of the game gathering different kinds of units. But it's still just like when you actually have to do the Battle of the Bands sections, it's so not fun compared to everything else you do in that game.
Also, the game didn't really tell you what you can do. It's like it told you to go to Mount Almerdong and do something, and I said, what? How? And the game never tells you how.
Mm-hmm. I actually watched a playthrough of it recently, and it's a fun game to it's a fun story to see play out. Like, I love those characters. I love their silly antics. I forgot that the voice of Billy from Billy and Mandy is in there there's so many people in that game that you could never get that cast back together again. That would be impossible. Not only because some of them are now dead, but Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead, but also it's just there are so many good people in there.
There isn't really much to talk about either. Aside from Bobby Kotick leaving, it's that was the last news item for the year.
Yeah, well, we're officially at sort of our game of the year time. Do you want to talk about what was the best thing you played this year, Jonah?
Oh, that's easy. And it was a year ago that I played, almost a year ago, and that's Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush is the Dreamcast we never got. It was a Dreamcast game we never got.
That was a surprise drop, I think. I mean, not many people knew.
Shadow drop.
Yeah. Not many people knew it was coming.
And I got to say this, of all the games that came out this year, of all of them, Hi-Fi Rush was the most that felt like a video game. Yeah. And it was fun. Everybody else is trying to do all these, big, important stories like Baldur's Gate and Spider-Man and Starfield. Hi-Fi Rush just says, fuck you, this is a video game. We're here to have fun, damn it. And also listen to some kick-ass music. I mean, I went from liking to loving Hi-Fi Rush when you first do the boss fight against Rekka.
Yeah, because every one of those boss battles is set to a pretty good license track, huh?
Yeah, and also they have a non-licensed track, which is good, because you never know when those music licenses will expire, and then you'll have something like an Alpha Protocol situation in which they can't do it because the music license to turn up the radio is no longer available for that damn game.
There's a royalty-free soundtrack to it too, right?
That's what I said. There's a royalty-free soundtrack. I guess my next question would be: does the royalty-free soundtrack hit as good as the licensed soundtrack? Yeah. So let me give you an example. Rekka's boss fight song is I forgot the name of it. Is Free Radicals. And but it's done by the band that's with it's not done by the Flaming Lips. It's actually done redone. But then they have the non-licensed, the unlicensed version, which is Captive Mind. No, Captive Normals. So every song has its royalty-free version.
That's good that they did that. That really is. You're right.
Yeah.
Like about the whole licensing, you never know when that stuff goes away. It's good for them to be that forward thinking, because we've seen it with other games where like they become I think that, what was it? I think the Metal Gear games were delisted for a bit because there was some licensing issues in them, and they had to go back and relicense some of that stuff to be able to relist them again.
Yeah, so they call it the streamers edition version. You can click on streamer mode, which you can play the game on any streaming service and not have to worry about hitting any copyright thing. So that's the other reason why they did it, so you can stream it without worrying.
That's rad.
The game's music just kicks ass. And like I said, Rekka's intro is so good because she's basically a wrestler, so she has a wrestling entrance.
Nice.
She bangs her fists together, and everything is in time with the music. That's one thing. In the past few years, have you noticed there's a lot of rhythm games that have been coming out? A lot of rhythm games exploring into other genres. I guess we can thank Dance of the Necro Dancer for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got Cadence of Hyrule. That was a pretty good one.
And you're right. We got what was it? Metal Hellsinger.
Yeah.
And then which was like FPS with music in a rhythm game. Hi-Fi Rush, which is action with music in a rhythm game.
Basically, Bayonetta / Devil May Cry. The one good thing about it is that the game is a lot more forgiving if you're not in time with it. Basically, if you're in time with it, you get bonus damage. Otherwise, it's just you don't get the bonus.
There was a fighting game that was like a rhythm game that came out earlier this year too. Gods. I'm gonna have to look that up because God of Rock. That was a rhythm game mixed with fighting game, and that was pretty dope too.
The way they made that game is that you could actually use your Guitar Hero or Rock Band controllers to play the game, because they do that. They have the frets on the bottom, so you're able to do it.
Nice.
I mean, it got mixed reviews, but it was still a good idea. So none of you can copy an answer. So one of you is going to have to take Baldur's Gate 3, and the other one's going to have to figure something else out.
I rolled credits on Tears of the Kingdom this last week.
Okay.
That ending, that fight, that's probably the best Ganon fight that I've seen in the Zelda series. And I'm like, not even. It floored me. It's a multi-part affair, like most of the time it is. But like the ultimate battle. First off, the path to getting there is a trip. The amount of payoffs that you get from the story on the way there is a trip. The actual fight with like human form Ganon is kind of hard, and like I enjoyed being challenged in such a way. And then the ultimate fight with him is like, it just ties everything together that you've been dealing with for hundreds of hours of that game perfectly.
I couldn't agree more. This is what a sequel should be like, and this is, I think, the first Zelda that has this really good story, this really epic story. And they did so much with it, too, with the depths and the skylands and all the physics and just so much. And you could spend hours on this game easily.
Okay, so he took Tears of the Kingdom. What are you going with then?
I'm going to go Sea of Stars.
Okay.
I really enjoyed the story and the world there, and it does link to the Messenger, and it expands the world and lore, and you got all this great soundtrack, really awesome soundtrack, really great visuals, the lighting and the shadows that they have, and you get this mechanic of controlling the sun and the night and day cycle, and you can rotate the thing. And there's a meme where people are saying how the Solstice Warriors are.
Didn't you assume that your friend who got his eye torn out was going to be the big villain of the game?
I worried that was going to happen. They even had a scene where these acolytes are talking about having like a traitor there and something, and it's like you know what to do. They're they're going through the Forbidden Cavern, and I was like, oh no, this doesn't look good.
And then it turns out the entire acolytes were pricks anyway. So.
Yeah. Like the timing mechanics in the game is good, and the story was good, and I enjoyed the adventure there, and there's a lot of good plot twists.
Hey, you know what? At least you can be grateful that Aiden Chronicles 100 Heroes is delayed.
Oh yeah, definitely. So now that can be my game of the year for next year, and I don't have to worry about these two competing.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, this year was full of great games, and I don't want to overlook, like Octopath Traveler 2 was also really good.
Well, I'm not going to overlook Starfield because that was, it's still an amazing game. And, Einan Zur, who is the composer, he composed stuff like for Fallout and Dragon Age. He was right in saying that a lot of people were playing it the wrong way because a lot of people were playing it like a linear Bethesda game. And what they should have done, what Bethesda should have done with Starfield was not have you start in Civilization. What they should have done was have you wake up on some distant planet without you knowing anything about, how to play the game except for, how to, the controller and all that. But, just have you wake up in the middle of nowhere and try and find your way back to Civilization. I think that would have been much, much more rewarding. And then go through the Reborn storyline, because it's like you have to go through and you see all these generated planets, and it's like you have to explore them and deal with them, and then finally you get to Civilization. That would have been a lot more of a of a story, and one that doesn't stay with the Bethesda style game. The other thing is that they're coming with a massive patch. It's not an expansion, in which they're going to make survival harder, because one thing in the game is that when you're on a planet that's hostile to you, it's hostile, but it's not like, I'm in big trouble. I think they're going to make it so that you better be prepared if you're on a planet that has, say, heavy radiation, or if it's extremely hot and you don't have the proper equipment to deal with it.
Yeah, like it's actually a little bit wild that you don't hear too much about Starfield in the end game of this year, only because even if it did get overshadowed by Baldur's Gate a little bit.
No, it was a backlash, and I was following what's it called, the social media on it. It was sort of like all these PlayStation fans were backing Baldur's Gate 3 because they didn't have Starfield. It was all the way it was rated, and they didn't think that Baldur's Gate 3 was going to come to Xbox, like it was some sort of PlayStation exclusive. No. It would have came out the same day because, except for the Xbox Series S.
All of that aside, the game still seems good enough that it should have, that thing that sometimes you see games do where, once the hype dies down, the actual fans that have been playing them will rise out of that and talk about how good the game is.
Microsoft hasn't even released the Creators Club for Starfield yet. That's one of the things. It's supposed to be 6 months since release, which I think would be around February. And then you're going to have tons and tons and tons of mods. They do have some mods now, but with the Creators Club is a way to. But I'm going to tell you something. Wandering around these planets, it's sort of like in the morning, if the conditions are right, you'll have fog because of temperature inversion. Everything happens in that game happens organically because of conditions. You're not going to have rain unless certain conditions are met. I mean, on Titan, it's almost always snowing because that's the way it is on Titan. And by the way, snowing methane, not water.
Yeah, and I think I hope ultimately, like everyone that I've ever talked to that actually gave Starfield the time, like more than a few hours, has seemingly enjoyed it. It seems like a very good Bethesda game, and I guess on a long enough timeline, I hope it gets its due and people
It
start
will.
to really
Here's the thing.
enjoy it for what it is.
Here's the thing. I think people forget that Skyrim was thought of as an okay entry into the series, and now 10 years later, it's sort of like they're still making content for it. And I thought Fallout 4 was meh when I first played it. Um, Later on, I started to enjoy it a little bit more, and a little bit more.
Fallout 4 is definitely the example I was thinking of when I thought of that game that like people were like lukewarm on it at the time, but it's
Yeah, because
really
I
grown
thought
up.
you had to make settlements. You don't have to make settlements, folks. You don't have to invest that much time in it.
Yeah, but it really came into its own, and people like the people that love Fallout 4 really love Fallout 4. And I mean, I've played plenty of Fallout 4. I like playing that game. I don't like building the settlements like you say, but also like you say, there's so much other stuff to do, and there's so many good characters in that game, and there's so many good storylines to explore.
Yeah, the Nick Valentine storyline is really good.
And the Nick Valentine's story was so good that it was a part of Far Harbor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Far Harbor was really good expansion pack for that game. I enjoyed it too.
I always like Diamond City. Like that place is a really good concept for like a broken world settlement. Just they turn a baseball field into like a survival settlement. I love
Yeah, and
that.
you get an achievement if you run the bases. Did you know that? If you run all the way from home to first to second to third back to home, you get an achievement.
I had no idea, and that's awesome.
You get the home run achievement.
And like the mayor of the city gets to hang out up in the press box.
Yeah. What I do is I break the game a little bit. It's not really breaking it because it understands what you do, but sometimes I just steal from everything from the office without him or his guard noticing. Because in order for you to get in trouble, someone actually has to see you do it. So I just steal everything and not let him know that I got the stuff that that I needed without him knowing it. And then
Yeah.
it turns out he's a synth. um, But the thing with Starfield is my advice, and I gave this advice before they officially gave this advice. Just after you do the opening mission, just pick a place to go and go. Just wander off the main thing for a while and just explore planets and just enjoy them and just immerse it. Exploring planets. You can walk from one end of a planet and keep on going around until you hit yourself again, but that'll take days in our time because they are big. So I should write an article about that. How what Bethesda should have done was just plop you out somewhere on some planet, someplace where you don't know where you are, and forgot what happened to you. And
Yeah.
Here's the other thing. When you play a lot, it gets all these weird because you get into all these weird alternate universes. One alternate universe has them all as children. They're all children.
Yeah, there's some crazy alternate ones. There's one like they're all dead except for the big robot.
Except for Vasco. Yeah, and that's actually kind of depressing. It's sort of like Vasco tells you, you're the sole survivor here. It's like, that is depressing. Another one is where Samko's daughter is also a Starborn, and she wants to kill you for letting her father die. That's really depressing. And then there's another one in which you actually meet yourself. Now, you do meet yourself when you first become Starborn, but in this universe, you're still around, and then you meet yourself. And that's one of the odd things, is that you're a silent protagonist for most of it, but actually you do have a voice, you just never speak, because your doppelganger will talk to you. Anyways, a lot of spoilers for a game that's been released for a while. Let's talk about the one game that we're all looking forward to. I think you already hinted at it strongly there, Scott.
I'm sorry, what?
the game that you're most looking forward to in 2024. I'm guessing it's
Iudian Chronicles. Yeah, will be the one I'm looking forward to most. But there's a lot of good ones coming, like Visions of Mana and Sacrifier and.
And that's coming to. People were shocked. Xbox owners were shocked that the Visions of Mana was coming to Xbox.
Yeah, I mean, Square Enix doesn't mind putting it on all platforms. They don't have an issue with that.
Unless it's named Final Fantasy 16. By the way, was that your number 2 game, TJ?
What, Iudian Chronicles?
No, 2023, Final Fantasy 16.
My number 2 game was Octopath Traveler 2, easily. That game is ridiculously good. If you want me to talk about that, I can talk about it for probably 30 minutes to an hour. But I'll just stop by saying that, like, every character has their moment to shine, even the ones that I don't like that much. Every track in that game is a joy to listen to inside and out. I've put that game on and, like, gone to an area that I like and just put that music on in the background while I've cooked dinner.
And every single boss has its own mechanics, you know. When you get used to stuff, they suddenly introduce, like, this new thing that you didn't know the game was going to throw at you.
Yeah, like locking up some of their weaknesses, and then you have to work your way around the other ones. But every single time that it gets to the lead into a boss fight, and you know it's coming because your character's, like, song starts to play, and it starts to pick up, and then I crank the volume on that every time. That boss music in Octopath Traveler 2 is probably the best boss music I've heard in a JRPG or really any game like that in a long time.
And they did improve with character interactions. When you go in the tavern, you can have scenes with like 3 or 4 of the characters, so that's pretty cool too.
Yeah. Really good game. Like, really good understanding of what makes a JRPG work, and then, like, just exemplary character design and stories on top of that, and music that is just like we voted it for the best soundtrack of the year on Shack News, and it like won handily.
So what are you looking forward to in 2024? Are you looking forward to Tekken 8?
I'm certainly looking forward to Tekken 8. That's probably going to be like my main squeeze for the first season of the year up until some other stuff starts hitting. I'm also keeping my eye on Alone in the Dark because I want there to be a good Alone in the Dark game. That series deserves better than what it. Yes, I've played the very first one. And I think, like, as much as that series has a legacy in the survival horror industry, it has been a long time since there was an Alone in the Dark game that wasn't crap.
Okay.
And I really hope that the new one, like, hits the beats. Dragon's Dogma 2. I'm so excited to be in on the ground floor of a Dragon's Dogma game because I completely missed the boat on the first one. It's really exciting to see that game coming, and, like, nobody who thought that was going to happen. It's one of those things from Capcom, like, that it has a fervent following, but, like, you don't hear much out of it outside of those few people that just love the heck out of it.
Capcom's coming out with something called Blue Protocol. It's like I wish it was like a sequel to Alpha Protocol, but Alpha Protocol was Sega.
It's based on an anime, I think.
Yeah, I had no idea that Braid was getting a remastered anniversary edition.
I think so, yeah.
Did you know that?
Which one?
Braid was getting an anniversary edition.
Yes. That was revealed at the Game Awards, wasn't it?
Yeah. And the thing is that Braid, I think, was the one game that really opened up the door for Xbox Live Arcade and indie console gaming. I mean, you had other games that came out, but Braid was the big game that just knocked it out of the park. I think it and Limbo did it.
Huh. Yeah, like, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I never actually have played the first Braid.
I bet Scott wants to play Tales of Symphonia Remastered.
I already have that on Steam.
Okay.
I keep hearing them remastering it, but it's like, I already have it on Steam. I'm not buying it a second time.
Yeah, but this time, oh.
Let's see what else. I mean, like there was Azure, Trails of Azure came out this year on PC.
You know what's coming on the Switch, right? In February, Mario versus Donkey Kong.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say the Unicorn Overlord. Looking forward to that.
No.
Yeah, Vanillaware's new game, which Vanillaware is strangely good at what they do, and it's like it's never the same. It's never exactly the same thing. They their RPGs and their games in general are just wildly different from one another. But they all have like the same very, very, very good art behind them, and that kind of to a certain degree, I think that carries a lot of what they do because they're just so good at the art style they do for their games.
Do you play the Grand Blue Fantasy games, Scott?
I was gonna say, are you talking about Relink? Because that game looks fun too.
I'm saying, yeah, that's what's coming out.
I hear that one's going to be an RPG, not a fighting game.
So I've had a chance to preview that game twice, and what it is it's an action RPG, kind of in the style of Dungeon Fighter Online. You take quests and you go to like biomes and you basically fight your way through them until you get to a boss character or another part of the quest that you have to do. And when you finish, you basically go back to a hub world and level up your weapons, level up your gear, pick your party. It's a co-op game, or you can play it like you basically have a party of 4, and when you're playing as the main character, AI controls the other 3. But you can also have other players come in and pick up any of the other 3 party members. And to me, it's like Diablo meets anime, and I think that could be worth keeping an eye on, because when I've played it, it's really fun. Like the characters all have very different niches to each other. Where like one of them can be like a complete defensive tank that casts barriers and looks after the other characters, whereas one is like a glass cannon spellcaster that if you don't protect her, while she's getting her biggest spells ready, she'll be in real trouble. But if she gets off her best spells, she can do thousands of points of damage. And I think it's going to be really cool to see how people like take the characters and figure out the meta and figure out how to like beat the end game stuff, because it's going to be one of those games where like there's going to be a lot of post story content, like super bosses, big enemies at the end of the game, new quests. It's going to be fun to see. I hope it does well.
I feel that Homeworld 3.
I feel like the most interesting thing. I think the story is cool, but the most interesting thing about Homeworld 3 to me is that they added a roguelike mode that you can play co-op with other people.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
So it's this mode where you and 2 other players, like a party of 3, each get a carrier, like the main ship in the game, and you take on a randomized set of scenarios, which could be like chase down a transport frigate, or save civilians from incoming pirates, or just fight a bristling set of ships. And every time you finish up a scenario, you get an upgrade for your carrier, and your teammates get upgrades for their carriers that you can like it's like options in a roguelike game where you can power up your interceptors, you can power up cruisers, you can power up different other types of ships and like specialize. And the further you go, the better equipment you get, the better upgrades you get. And if you finish, you like level up and can unlock different variations of fleets to take into the mode. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Now, the one game that I'm looking forward to, because it's intriguing, is Our History Untold, which is going to be the next 4X Civ type game, and it's going to be a strange mix between turn-based exploration and conquering, but the combat, it's going to go down. It's like in Civilization, all you have to do is two unit squares just whack at each other for a while. well, Our History Untold, you're going to actually get to see the battle. Did you see it, Scott? Did you see the trailer for Our History Untold?
No, I haven't seen that, but I think that reminds me of, I thought it was Civ Cult Power or something that had where it would zoom in to an actual battle, which is I've always wanted to see.
Okay. There's a bunch of sequels actually coming out. Who knew that we're going to have a new Earth Defense Force?
I think there's also Eastward is having a DLC where it's like a farming sim, and it comes off like an expansion pack because you have this new farming area, and I guess it's an alternate reality where everyone else with you, all your friends that you saw in the main game are with you at this farming community, and you're just building and crafting. It's kind of like a Stardew Valley, I guess. Looks pretty interesting.
Frostpunk 2 is finally going to be released in 2024. Hopefully, maybe. The one sequel I did not know was coming was Greedfall 2. Did you play the first Greedfall?
No, but I remember seeing a lot of it. Like, that's the one where...
It's basically a science fiction medieval Mass Effect.
I was going to say, that's the one where, like, the pilgrims land on the fantasy island, right?
It's future space colonialism, yeah. But this time the natives can fight back because they have magic and you don't.
Yep.
But Greedfall 2 is coming next year, so which is on my thing. A lot of people are looking forward to Little Nightmares 3.
Wowie zowie. Greedfall came out in 2019. It doesn't feel like it's been that long since that game launched already.
It's $5. You can buy it for $5 now. But Little Nightmares 3 is a game that everybody's looking forward to as well.
Yeah, Little Nightmares is one of those things that, like, I don't feel like it ever does amazing numbers, but it does what it does well enough to stick around.
You know it's coming back in 2024?
What's that?
Multiversus is coming back in 2024.
So they say. WB is going through a time.
Octopath Traveler 2 is finally going to come on Xbox next year, too. And the Sam & Max, the Devil's Playhouse is getting remastered. So let me ask you a question. How much are you looking for? They showed a new trailer for Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, right?
Yes.
And this time they actually showed the combat.
Yeah. And I mean, like, that game feels like it's going to be the pinnacle of what we think of as games as an art when it comes out, just for how much goes into the design, how much goes into the sound design, how much goes into the graphics, the details, the story. That game, I feel like it's a little I won't say overhyped. I feel like it's very hyped, and I hope that it can live up to the expectations that people have had for it, because it really does look like it could be something amazing.
Speaking of hype, remember, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is supposed to come out next year as well. And they finally found a developer who's actually can stick with it. So it's going to be interesting to see how much was retained from the original story. And because I liked what I saw that was going to be part of the original story. But hopefully these guys do a lot better than the other guys were doing. Was it Night Dive who was originally working, or are they working on it now? I know Night Dive is involved there somewhere.
The Chinese Room.
Oh, the Chinese Room, yeah. So the Chinese Room we best know for the first walking simulator, Dear Esther. But then they also did the third, the third Amnesia game. What was it? It wasn't a mission. It wasn't a Machine for Pigs. It was the one that came after it. You remember the one that they came after Machine for Pigs? Oh, Rebirth.
They didn't do Rebirth. They did They did Machine for Pigs.
Oh, okay. Machine for Pigs is actually the scariest of the Amnesia games.
Rebirth went back to the main developer, Frictional Games.
The other game that I'm really looking forward to is Star Wars Outlaws, because we all saw the extended gameplay, and what it's doing, I like. It's doing it's doing just basic stuff, but it's doing all the basic stuff well. And if they manage to put it together, it should be really fun.
Yeah, I like that game. I didn't get to play Jedi Survivor for this year, but I definitely enjoy Star Wars games. So looking forward to
Jedi
that
Survivor
next
though is more of a Dark Souls game than it is or actually no. The games with Kyle Kestis are more like Tenchu games.
Yeah, and I mean, but like the strangest thing about Star Wars Outlaws is that it's coming out of Ubisoft, which has been on a losing streak lately. But that game looks bizarrely good. I'm always shocked when I see that game and realize that that Ubisoft is making it, because like I guess Ubisoft is still capable of good things, but you don't see it too often these days.
Am I the only one who has faith in Kill the Justice League?
Yes.
Yeah, I have no interest in that.
You know who's the developer is, right?
It's Avalanche, isn't it?
No, it's Rocksteady.
Rocksteady.
And they haven't, gameplay-wise, they haven't really failed, you know? I mean, I don't like it when they go open world, but the combat has always been solid for the Batman Arkham games done by Rocksteady.
I've shared my opinion before that, like, as King Shark, I don't want to shoot people. I want to tear them in half and eat them. But
that could be when you get close to them. Maybe that'll be like, in Gears of War, but instead of pulling out your chainsaw, instead of pulling out the chainsaw, you pull out your teeth.
I just hope it's not as gun heavy as it looks every time I see it, because it looks real gun heavy.
Like I said, I'm looking forward to it. It's Rocksteady. I have faith in them.
And that's fair. Like, Rocksteady has no reason there's little reason to not have faith in Rocksteady, except for, like, I have faith in Rocksteady. I have no faith in WB's corporate executives not meddling and making things stupid.
Well, WB meddled in Shadow of War, and it still was great. I mean, even the thing is, Monolith knew how to please them by making the microtransactions almost not a non-issue.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how Rocksteady does it.
When it comes to anything WB, I'm like, I want to believe, because I like a lot of those universes, but I don't believe in David Zaslav.
We'll see if Avowed comes out in 2024, which is basically going to be Space: The Outer Limits. I mean, Fantasy: The Outer Limits.
What else is coming next year?
The Outer. Damn it! The Outer Planet.
Outer Worlds?
The Outer Worlds, yeah. And I should have known that because I always confuse it with The Outer Wild.
Yeah. Outer Worlds 2 could be fun.
Yeah. Well,
I know you weren't crazy about the first one, but I think that Obsidian did a pretty good job with that.
It was just too generic. And it was like, I don't know, it was sort of like them going through the motions to me with the Outer World.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me. I mean, the Outer World 2 could be much better. See, one game that I know a lot of people are excited about because it has such a niche appeal and people love it. It's like made for one kind of gamer, and Frostpunk 2 is finally going to come out in 2024.
Yeah, Frostpunk is something that I've wanted to explore, to dip my toes in, and just haven't, because I've never had time.
It's freaking depressing.
It's a city builder, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a city builder survivor. So usually your game it's almost a roguelike, because you know what, your people are probably going to die, and they're going to die after you tell them, you know what, we're going to switch to cannibalism to try and survive. So.
Oh boy, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is coming in February 29th, and that game is going to
disappoint.
I don't know. Like, it actually looks like it could be pretty great based on the open world stuff they've been showing.
I think the bigger Final Fantasy release will be 14 on the Xbox.
You think so? I don't know.
There's a lot. You know what? It is. Here's the thing. I know that there's a lot of agita with Xbox players because they want an MMO, and they want an MMO that's more like Final Fantasy 14 and less like Fallout 76. Although I will say, Microsoft released their roadmap for Fallout 76 today, and they are really going all in on Fallout 76. I mean, we keep on talking about how sad it is when games like The Crew, whatever live service games it is, turns off the lights and now you can't play it anymore. Microsoft is making sure that it doesn't happen to fans of Fallout 76. And it is gaining fans because it keeps getting better and better and better. Ever since the Wastelanders expansion, people have been really getting into it.
Yeah. I mean, like, that world seems like it has a really fun design to it. The monsters look like they're really silly and crazy. I like the giant sloth.
Basically, it's turned into Fallout 4 Online. That's basically what it is.
We also have the Mothman.
Yeah. So we know the game that, that I'm willing to bet this is the game you're most nervous about, that you really want to be good. I think you know which one game I'm talking about.
Killing Floor 3.
No. The Wolf Among Us 2.
I would like that game to be good. It's hard for me to have any feelings about it because it feels like the studio has been through the ringer. But I want to believe that they can put together another good narrative with that series and those characters. But I'm serious. Killing Floor 3 is very high on my radar, and I didn't realize that it's set for a tentative 2024. But if that game sticks to the landing, I'll be playing that one for years.
Then we have a game that was announced 13 years ago, is finally coming out this year. You all know, and it had one of the best trailers ever, and that's Mugenics.
You've talked about that game a lot. I remember
it's The Sims meets Pokemon meets Animal Crossing and Tamagotchi, in which you genetically create different kinds of cats and then they fight.
That seems really silly.
Just check out the original trailer from 2012 for Mugenics. That the song is so catchy. I'm finally glad it's finally coming out. See, Ed Bun McMillan. He's an interesting person. He suffers from clinical depression, and a lot of his games are his way of dealing with it. So he started out in Mugenics, and then he had to put it off because apparently The Binding of Isaac didn't have enough expansions.
Yeah. And, like, I've heard you talk about this game several times because it's been in development forever. Like you said, one of the trailers came out in 2012.
The first trailer came out in 2012. The thing is that, he just put it off because he starts working on something else. But it's just so good. It's I want it to be so good. It's going to be, like I said, it's how can you not like a game about breeding cats and then having them in turn-based strategy?
No kidding. I really hope we're expecting the console version of City Skylines 2 in 2024 as well, and I hope they stick the landing.
That was a bummer for a lot of people that they delayed it.
I hope they stick the landing because I would love to be able to play that on PS5.
Well, right now the PC version has definitely stuck the landing for me. I mean, I never had I never had the technical problems that a lot of people did, and I think you've been playing it too. The systems are so deep in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've scratched the surface, even though I've gained access to all these services. It's sort of like you have to deal with so many things in that game.
Yeah, it guides you into a lot of that stuff pretty good though. Like I feel like I don't know if it's because I'm coming from being a City Skyline 1 player, but I felt like I picked up everything as it showed it to me in a reasonable and fun manner where like it never felt like it was overwhelming. It never felt like there was something that it didn't tell me until it was too late. And it's been fun exploring that game. Smileyville is still smiling.
It also took away some of the pains of City Skylines, and that is electricity and water. Now it's just underneath the streets. If there's a street, it's connected.
Yeah. That's the terraforming. That's a big deal here. Like
I haven't done the terraforming yet.
Being able to fiddle with create hills and fiddle with that and make tunnels like through those hills and build underground stuff. That's neat. I love that.
for me, the big thing is making a mass transit system. Even though I've only gotten as far as having to create one bus line.
Ooh. I should terraform the heck out of an area and build a city in between like a circle of hills and make it like the Mole People Kingdom.
Yeah, they still haven't come out with the editor yet, in which you can, if you can edit the starting area. They haven't released that yet. I think that's going to be the next big release, because they give you like 12 areas, and I'm fine with them, but I want to create an area that's more suited to me.
Yeah, and that game is just going to get better over time because, like, they incorporated so many mods into it already, but like once with the mod community and the mod workshop that they have, it's just going to grow into something amazing between what the developers put together and what the community itself puts together.
There's a reason why they decided to have their own mod hosting rather than, Nexus mods and stuff like that, because they wanted to curate mods because they knew it was going to be big in the mod scene.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, they haven't scratched the surface on that game yet. And it's on Game Pass, and I might actually now purchase it.
And the more they put together, like this mod scene, this mod community, like I was a little odded out at first, but like,
you
they won't be able to do like script stuff, but they will be able to enjoy a lot of the cool stuff that's happening.
Anyways, so yeah, City Skylines is good. That's a 2023 game. We have to talk about 2024, damn it.
Well, that's why we were talking about it, is because it's coming to PC or to consoles.
Yeah. What else is there coming out? Oh yeah, Space Marine 3 is coming out. Or is it Space Marine 2? Space Marine 2.
Can't remember.
Yeah, Space Marine 2. It's coming out late next year. The original Space Marine, just so you know, because Games Workshop came up with the concept of Space Marine before anybody else did.
Oh shit! I forgot that they were making a remake of the original Clock Tower for 2024 as well.
Yep.
Way Forward and I think .emu are teaming up on that.
Way Forward, who also did the Silent Hill Memories and the Shantae games, but also Silent Hill Memories.
Clock Tower is something altogether wacky different from most of the survival horror that people know about. It's you have no way of fighting back against the monster. Your best options are to run and hide. And sometimes if you hide in a place too much, it will recognize that and kill you in that hiding place. It's terrifying. That game is intense. I can't wait to see it with like new graphics and hopefully a better UI.
Actually, that reminds me. Star Wars Dark Forces Remaster is coming out, and it's being done by Night Dive. And I played it when it first came out, and now you youngins get to play it.
I've played the Dark Forces a little bit, but only like the first. I've only played up to
where you getting the Death Star plans? Yeah.
No, it let you play up to the part where you go into the sewer and find that informant guy.
Okay. But the entire first part of that game is you getting the Death Star plans.
Yeah. And what a wildly good game. And
yes.
What a straight. I had no idea.
This was back when LucasArts was really hitting their stride as a game maker.
Also, like, I had no idea that game leads into the Jedi, the Star Wars Jedi games.
The sequel is Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2.
Yeah.
Then the other, it's like Rambo, it was Rambo First Blood Part 2, but then it just became Rambo 3.
We're also getting another Saga game. Have you seen that one, Scott?
Yes, the Saga Emerald.
Mm-hmm.
And you got like 8 different or 4 different characters. I forget how many there are.
With Saga.
You're picking out the different characters, and it's all fully 3D and I guess voiced, and looks really interesting.
I love those games. I really do. They, it's safe to say that Octopath Traveler wouldn't exist without Saga.
Yeah, you've been wanting a Saga game. I remember that when Octopath first came out, you were like, call it Saga, and now here's your Saga game.
Yep. I hope it's good.
I feel sad for Scott because there's no new Legend of Heroes games coming out. They're just bringing out new Trails of the Cold Steel. Trails of the Cold Steel 3 and 4 to PlayStation, but those are remakes. They're not.
Trails to Dawnbreak is coming.
That came out this past year.
The official translation for English is coming out.
Oh, okay. Isn't that that's on the Switch, isn't it?
I think it'll be on Switch and Xbox, PlayStation,
Switch.
And PC.
No, just Switch.
Trails through Daybreak.
What are you talking about? Daybreak is coming out on all platforms.
Really?
Yes.
Yes. Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and PC.
No, I only see. Well, it's coming out first on Switch then.
Well, I'll be getting it on PC. And also Wise 10. That looks good. I'll definitely get that. I don't think that's coming out on PC.
Is it Wise or is it Ease?
Ease. I think it's Ease. Yeah, sorry, Ease.
Yeah, I was right. The version on Nintendo Switch is coming out first, and then it's being released later on PlayStation 4, 5, and that's it. It's not coming out on Xbox. What are you talking about? All platforms?
I thought it was all platforms. Oh, okay.
No, it's just PlayStation 4, 5, Windows, and Switch.
Okay.
You know what's going to happen, don't you know? Like a year from now, you're going to have every single Legend of Heroes Trails game on Game Pass. like they did with Yakuza.
That's fine. I'm not playing on Xbox anyways.
We also have Metaphor ReFantasio coming from Atlas.
Yeah.
Which looks like a very, very different take on sort of the Shin Megami series, but it's very similar in a lot of ways too.
So
still looks like you do the thing where you gather demons and such.
One of the games that we haven't really talked about, partly because it's a turn-based game, but have you heard of Solium Infernum?
I have not.
It's a grand strategy game that takes place in hell. It's a grand strategy game, which means you have politics and stuff like that. So basically, you're dealing with the politics of hell. If you like games like Europa Universalis, but wanted to be set in hell, there you go.
There was a LucasArts game that did that too, wasn't there?
So, like you can play. I'm going to go straight from the press release because I had to pull it up. Play a game of politics, master powerful. Oh God damn it! Play a game of politics, master powerful sorceries, or become a wrathful warmonger. Use events, rituals, diplomacy, and schemes wisely as you make your choices and specialize your gameplay with power to unlock dark powers. It was actually a game that was from 2009. They just remade it.
I swear there was also a LucasArts game that also dealt with you managing heaven and hell, and I can't remember what.
Are you talking about Black and White?
No, it's not Black and White. I think it's just called Afterlife.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yes. But there was also a game in which you played a cherub and you can control people. I forgot the name of that game.
That's oh my God. Our
that came out way back when.
ActRaiser. The first ActRaiser. You play as a little angel that in the sim elements to guide the mortals.
Yeah, do things that'll eventually lead to their violent death. Good going, little cherub. Anyway.
Oh my God, Afterlife's characters were so ugly.
You know what year that came out in, right? It was way ahead of its time.
Oh, I loved Afterlife. Where you get to design heaven and hell. All the posts.
No.
Yeah.
We're talking about a different. Yeah, Afterlife, but we're talking about a different game now.
Oh, sorry.
No, I mean, but yeah, I remember Afterlife. It actually, the reason why I confused it with Black and White because it had the same kind of box in which one side was white and the other side was black. If I remember correctly.
I remember that game too.
Yeah. Anyways, for a short podcast, we've gone well over an hour without even talking about any game news. So look for our show notes at gamingpodcast.net, along with industry news and our gaming history articles. We enjoy feedback, so comments on our blog at gamingpodcast.net. Also, us up at facebook.com/gamingpodcast. Subscribe to us on iTunes. Leave us an iTunes comments. You can find me on Twitter at Jonah Falcon.
You can find me at Johnny Chugs.
You can find me at Chart of More.
And like I said, you will see us next year in 2024. We're going to be taking next week off. Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy gaming, everyone.
Have fun. Be cool. Play games, y'all.
And I know that TJ is going to do some co-op game with his wife. Aren't you?
Yup. Probably.
Which one?
Baldur's.
Oh, okay. I thought you might do, what was the name of that game? It Takes Two? No, not It Takes Two. I know that's one of the games. But no, those are the other one in which you were two people who broke out of prison. Do you remember that one?
A Way Out.
A Way Out.
A Way Out, yeah.
I thought maybe you both would be playing A Way Out.
I think there are more positive co-op games out there.
What? What did you say, Scott?
There are more positive co-op games out there.
Yeah, because at the end of A Way Out, spoiler, you have to fight the player you were playing with, and one of you is going to win and the other one's going to lose.
Bad.
At least in A Way Out, you're playing a husband and wife already. Anyways, see you next year.
Take care.
Take care. Good night.